I thought we'd get a chance to sit down.
Good morning and welcome to What's Going On Here. I'm Bob Venn. This is Jules Trahan. We've been moving around Rouse's Point and Champlain and seeing a lot of buildings and a lot of things going on, and the word has come up, and who built those buildings and what's the story of construction? So we got into this morning and we're going to do construction in the Northern Tier. And one of our big and well-known contractors is the Trahan family, and right here is Jules Trahan. Jules, good morning.
Good morning, Bob.
And we're in the basement office at his home here on Elm Street.
Correct.
He's a neighbor of Dick Letourneau.
Right.
Right over here. And Jules, tell us a little bit about Jules Trahan.
Well, I've been in a building since I was a little boy. My father handed me a hammer when I was born. So what choice did I have?
Did you break many things around the house?
Oh, a few. Right. I heard about them, too.
All right, so you were from Rouse's Point.
I was born in Rouse's Point.
Went to school here?
I went to school here at Rouse's Point High School.
Who were some of your classmates, remember?
Oh, yeah, Dick Letourneau, and my neighbor was.
Dick was? Oh, yeah. You've never left each other?
Not really. No, we've been staying pretty close.
All right, anybody else in your class still around the village?
Around the village, no, they all
took off?
All took off.
The two mainstays stayed here.
And I took off for a couple of years and came back.
Okay, where'd you go for 2 years?
I was in the service.
All right, and we just saw some pictures over there. You said you were where, Korea?
I was in Korea, yeah.
And were doing what?
Well, they put me in the building there.
Well, all right, now you say building. What brought you into building? How'd you...
Well, as a little boy, I used to go around the jobs, and my father said, well, why don't you learn some of this?
What jobs?
Well, houses.
Yeah,
building houses.
With who?
Or my father.
Your dad was a contractor?
My father was a contractor.
Building. All right. And your dad was?
Emery
Trahan. We saw a show, and I think you're going to see some of it here. Also, we're going to put in the interview that... what was that interview, Calvin? Who did that before?
I think it was Don, but I'm not sure. We'll see.
Don O'Boyle. We'll have to see a little bit later who did that. It was in his home, right?
Yes.
And so I said, tell us about the Trahan family then.
Well, the Trahans were all in the construction business from day one. And as the generations kept going, they kept getting into it.
And you're from Canada?
No.
I say you. The family was from Canada?
My father was from Canada.
Right. Well, you had some pictures over here. Let's get over and see and follow this family a little bit. Stand by. Before we go over and see the family, we notice this picture here on the wall. You notice it says Hotel Montgomery? Well, I want to correct something. You've seen this picture about early in January when we were talking with Peg Barcombe. She had a smaller picture of this, and I was trying to locate this, and I think I told you that Pratt Street went by right here in front of this hotel, which, of course, is wrong. That's the railroad track. Pratt Street runs in this direction, right, Jules?
Right.
And this is the front facing west, facing into the track. And look at the size and the beautiful, what do you call that? Kind of sculpturing around the porch and around the upper three-story building. And I counted about 11 people on the porch here on this, in Rouse's Point. Tell us a little bit about that building and why you have it in your office.
Well, the reason I've got this in the office here, Bob, is that my grandfather framed this in 1887.
Now, they don't think he framed the picture.
No, he framed the building.
All right. And what does that mean, to frame a building?
Well, and even today, you hire people just to frame something. Well, that's what he was.
What do you
framer.
Do? What does that mean?
Frame the whole building, close it all up, and then...
Yeah, but I don't know what you mean by framing. A lot of people out there know. What do you mean?
You take the building from the beginning.
Okay.
All the floors, the walls, put the windows in, do the outside.
All right.
And then somebody comes and finishes the inside.
Inside. All right.
They did that even at that time. They used to do that.
They were doing it that way.
They're doing a lot of that today.
My uncle Frank Manette likes to frame because he said he goes fast. He don't like the interior work. He said
he was a framer.
Yes, and Henry Grimshaw was the one that did the finishing. Go ahead.
So this was built for Arthur Kutcher of Rouse's Point. And John B. Poirier was a big contractor here in Rouse's Point. And he hired my grandfather to do the framing of it for him. And he came over from Canada to do this.
And that was Jules.
That was Jules.
That's where your name comes from, I take it, along the way here. And that was 1887.
That's when it was built.
Right.
Now, when it was opened, I don't know. Peg would probably tell you more on that.
Okay.
On the opening of
and on your thing here, it says that the building burned in December
of 1942.
It was a huge building. You remember the building?
I remember the building.
You got married there.
I'm not quite that old.
All right. Well, this is a reason why we're bringing in. Noticed the hotel is because we're going to talk a little bit about the Anchorage Hotel. If you remember when we did the story on the Anchorage, we saw Jules down in the pit, and that's when all the material was just coming in, so you could put the cement walls. And Scott was so happy it was finally coming when it got there while we were there. If you remember. Okay. There were 3 buildings here, you said, right?
Yes, there's 3 hotels in there. Well, one of them was a YMCA that was on a corner.
On the corner. And then the Armand's place was...
That was an Armand's place. That was a hotel also. Who the owner was there, I don't know.
A very busy corner, if you were...
Because railroad was a big thing.
Oh, yes, yes. As we're learning, right? You'll notice a wooden track here. Sidewalk, I should say, right across, to go across and come across, I guess, over across the tracks. And people way in the back also. And then the next house down here on this track is where
Benny Arnold
lives now. That's where that building is located, right across from the station. And we're going to go over now and go back into the family of the Trahans, and then we're going to get into construction. Right here is the oldest picture we see in the office. And tell us a little bit about these pictures, Jules, and don't be afraid to elaborate on them, starting right with this man right here.
This is Jules Trahan.
That's U-Z-E-B-E.
Correct.
Trahan.
He was the one that was really the starter of the Trahans over there in Canada. He lived in Kedzie, which is a place west of St. John's, Quebec, which is only about 25 miles from here. He had a shop. He moved over into St. Valentine area, which is somewhere where the sugar house is today. He had a sawmill and built wagon wheels, sleighs with the wooden spokes, which is all the wood part of it, and had the forge and put the steel on all that. So that was his business. Having 7 boys, they all went out into the construction field after learning how things were put together, from making wheels. Then they could start making barns and buildings. At that time.
Okay, let me show here. Born in 1820 and died in 1916. If you very quickly would know, he was 96 years old. You've lost your father in the past year. How old was your dad?
90.
So you can see you got a lot of longevity to look forward to. It's a family trait, and obviously you got the genes here that go on. There's 96, your dad in 90, and then these are some of the family, right?
That was all his family.
His family and their wives or
wives and
husbands.
And husbands.
And how many? There were 7 boys. How many girls?
7 boys and 5 girls.
That's a family of 12. They're all located here. And St. Valentine, as you know, is up above Cantic on the way towards St. John's, right?
Correct.
And you turn to your left up in there to get into St. Paul. That's where you picked the strawberries area,
correct.
Right? Correct. All right.
The farmer, my grandfather's farm, was right up from the strawberry place.
Oh, okay. And this is the farm here?
This is where the UZEB was. This is on the 3rd line, what they call 3rd line.
Okay. Now, I think you also told me, as we were looking at this earlier, this was your great-grandfather.
Correct.
Right? So he's your grandfather's dad.
Correct.
So we're back into some time here. And here's the picture of the farm with a lot of buildings on it. That's where they practiced. All these contractors kept practicing.
Building barns.
Yes. You know, they didn't keep the roof line the same either, Jules.
Everybody has a different aspect to it.
Okay. Then here's another family. Of this is...
The son.
And this
This is Jules Trahan.
Jules, which is his son, and which is, right here, is Emery, your dad.
My father.
Okay? So this is Jules' grandmother and grandmother, grandfather, and all the other brothers and sisters.
They had 4 boys and 3 girls.
Okay, and that was 1905. There's 7 in that family. And then we see a picture here in the St. Valentine's Church. Tell us about this.
Well, this is after the mass, people would meet and talk in front. That was there's no TVs or radios.
We don't do that anymore.
So they don't do that now. They race out of church now, but at that time they'd sit there and visit. This is when he replaced the steeple that had blown down by a wind and thunderstorm.
Now, this is built in 1900, the steeple rebuilt in 1905, and then it says Jules Trahan, which is your grandfather right here,
Right.
Correct? All right. And a contractor named Neapolitan Trahan had 10 boys and 3 girls. Big families, a lot of boys. They wanted a lot of carpenters.
Right.
In 1892, his son Pierre went to St. John and started contracting. Pierre had 7 boys and 4 girls. And then Jean-Paul Trahan took over the business in the early 1930s. He had one of the largest contractors south of Montreal, retired in 1970, and one of his 5 sons took the business over. So Trahans are into the contracting business, no question, building, right? Builders. This is a picture here. Can you tell us about this? I read the names. Cornell Queso, Alfred Gaines, Henry Emery, and Rosario Trahan. I think I had that picture right here, too.
Right.
A better...
It's the same picture.
Same picture. Let's get a bigger blow-up here.
This is when the Rouse's Point Bridge was built in 1937.
Oh, not the railroad bridge, the regular bridge.
This is the regular car bridge.
Okay, and your dad here was the second from the right?
Yes.
Okay. And here's some more of the pictures of it. Emery, contractor. So your dad, I thought from reading or watching this program on Channel 21 back a couple of years ago that he worked at Harris.
He did. When the
or
war,
Sheridan then.
When the war came, all the Trahans left the area. He stayed, and there was no work. So he went to work at the Harris plant. First he went there to put buildings up for him. He put a few of the big buildings up. Then they asked him to stay there to keep taking care of these buildings during a war year. So he went there and he stayed there.
Did your grandfather, or your dad rather, ever tell you that you were a good contractor? Did he ever admit it? He admitted it? Hey?
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. He must have been very proud to have you see you
He's the one
follow
talking me into it.
I'm sure, and I'm sure he was very happy. Well, now we've seen the Trahan family. We know where you've got your building in your blood.
It's in your blood.
In your blood, and you also know where you got your experience from down the family. How have you noticed when did you start into the business yourself?
I started in 1953 on my own.
On your own, but before that you worked with your dad.
Right, as a kid.
Did you have electric saws then?
No, I did a lot of stuff by hand.
A lot of stuff by hand. So how have things changed, say?
A lot.
Tell us about it.
I mean, today everything is, you go on a job, it's prefabricated to get on a job. You buy the windows, you just throw them in a hole. When we first started, we had to put them together. You had to hang all the doors.
You had someone make the window for you many times.
Right.
Masons in Peru?
Masons in Peru, West Lumber in Rouse's Point. They had a shop and they made windows, doors, and then we'd have to fit them. Now you don't do that.
You just cut a hole and you put the whole unit in.
Slide in the unit and put it in there.
Yeah.
Even now stairways are coming prefabricated.
Now, you are not into homes as much as you are in the bigger stuff mainly, but you do build homes.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
My boys are in charge of that now.
They're working with you, too?
Another generation going through.
How many boys?
I got 2 boys working with us, and a third one is not. He's in a...
Well, how big is your family?
I got 4 children.
I heard the other night, the guy says, you have one girl?
1 girl.
I got to tell you this because I thought it was great. They said, how many children do you have? He says, 4, all boys except 1. All right. I think it was there. He said all girls except 3. Anyway, whatever it was. I thought that was pretty good. I happened to see that on TV the other night. All right. So 2 of them work with you. Give us their names.
Mark and Mike Trahan.
Okay.
They are the running Trahan Construction.
Right.
And I'm running Jules Trahan Construction.
Okay. So how many projects have you got going right today?
Right now, I'm down to 1 project, the Anchorage Hotel.
The Anchorage. What about these homes that are being built?
Now these, that's my boys.
Your boys are doing that, huh?
Right.
Talking about boys, tell us about this picture right here.
Well, that's my father, and you know who that is.
Yeah.
And that's my son Emery with his son.
So it is Emery, Jules.
Emery and Jules.
There's 2 pairs of Jules, 2 pairs of Emery.
Right.
This taken on the where? That's your
That's
dad.
taken to my father's.
That's your father's house on
Maple Street.
Maple Street. It was, huh? How long ago was this, Jules?
That was 2 years ago.
4 generations. Many times you see this with women because men don't hang around that long. But as we already seen in the Trahan family, 90s is no surprise. And tell us about this picture he showed us here.
This is the Trahans of Canada. This is Napoleon.
Who would be who?
That would be my grandfather's brother.
That would be your grandfather Jules' brother.
Brother.
Yes.
And this is his son Pierre, who went to St. John's to start their business.
That's the one I just mentioned down
Right.
below, yes.
And he started the construction business in St. John's, and he got involved in big buildings, churches, factories. And then his son took it over, Jean Paul, and made it even bigger. Now it got a little bit smaller when Mike is taking it over, and he's involved in roads and pipe work. No more buildings
That's 4 generations there.
there.
He was probably not alive when he was doing this, was he?
No.
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 Now, up on the top here, for you French people, it says, Très fait une cent ans. What is, you say it.
I can't even read it.
Aha!
See, I gotta put,
You
I
gotta
gotta
put
put
his
cheaters
cheaters on, see, but, the Très,
Trahan famille,
oh, famille.
100 ans.
Okay,
They're-
100
they're
years
celebrating a 100 years affair.
in Quebec. Okay. And, so you're doing the Anchorage right now.
Right now.
Right. Who built the original? Oh, you don't know who
John
built
B. Poirier built the original.
John B. Poirier. Was that the one that we talked about here a minute ago?
Earlier, right.
That was
he built all the big buildings in Ross's Point. He built the Myers building, the nursing home, the old part there was a home. That was
Yeah.
Myers' home. He built that.
I see. We just saw another picture here of the
Myers building right here.
Myers building right here. Here's a picture back in the 20s, obviously.
Right.
show
That
the
was
Myers
built
building.
over the turn of the century.
Now, did you do the work on this when it was converted here from the bank?
Yes.
You did that work too?
We did a lot of renovating work in there in the past 20 years, 30 years.
Did you do the work on the Ben Franklin building too?
Yes, we
You did
renovated that whole building for the Myers people.
What's the outlook for construction in the next couple of years, do you see?
Well, I don't think it's going to drop that much. Not in this area.
Yeah. How many people do you have working for you in your...
Right now, we're about 7 or 8.
That's at the Anchorage,
Anchorage
right?
and the homes, with calling both businesses.
But now, is the other business is yours also, but the boys run
No,
it? Or
they
that's,
run it.
That's their business?
That's their business.
That's their business. So they're building Ralph Ware's house?
Right.
And what other houses right
And then
now?
right now, Mike's building a house for himself
For
there.
himself.
This is a house that we're going to be looking at.
We're going to go there.
Energy saver.
All right. Is it warm enough inside to
Well,
talk about that? You want to talk about it here?
No, we'll talk about it right there.
Nice heat. Okay, we'll do that. Is there anything else you want to talk to me about while we're here in your office here at your home?
I just want to look at that picture with Zerlo before you leave.
Okay, one more thing here. Okay.
Can't give you the date either because you didn't.
Well, you'll find out what date when you watch the other program. Picture of 2 very well-known men in our area. Of course, Jules Trahan with the big smile on his face right here.
Emery.
I say Jules Emery, of course, and who will forget John T. Zerlo, I guess that's Young
Right.
John's, Young John's father, John Zerlo. He didn't live to be 90. I miss John. John did an awful lot for me over the years. I used to go down for advice from him on anything
He's a
financial.
very remarkable man.
He was, and I didn't have anybody in my family who was good with finances, and I used to go talk to John now and then, and I really enjoyed talking with him. I was MC for his retirement, and he was Citizen of the Year, I think, also one time. But we got a great smile on your dad there. He had a good retirement afterwards.
Oh, yes.
You ever go to your jobs and tell you how to do it?
He comes once in a while. Not too often, though.
No?
He said he'd rather let me do it on my own.
I thought he had a remarkable memory when
yeah.
when you watch this program. He knew all these buildings in town and where they'd been moved from. I had no idea they were moved from so many places. Picture, and I'll tell you, that's a heavy frame. Did you make that frame?
No, he did that.
God, that's a heavy frame. That's oak.
I think he's got plate glass in there.
Got to be. Okay, we'll be. Well, wait a minute. I mentioned earlier. You may have seen this this person here in the post office around this point. He was looking for this guy right here. This was when? What year? 1950?
51.
51. Young Jules Trahan. Look at here. Here, look at these. Look at there they are together, right there. We played basketball against each other back there. Dick Grays. We had a great time back in those days in the early. We didn't have to win every game, as I mentioned. With Dick
No, we
Grays,
didn't.
But we had a lot of fun.
And Bob was a heck of a referee.
Did I used to give you a hard time when we refereed too?
He told me once that I couldn't be right. Because the referee was always right.
Always right. Yeah, never wrong. You might make a mistake, but
So after you told me that, I never argue with them anymore.
Thanks, Jules. We'll be right back to you. We're going over to what street? Where are we going to go to see this?
Trahan Drive.
Trahan, well, that makes sense. Trahan Drive, we're going to see a new house, or two new houses from outside. Be right back. I haven't been smoking. That is the cold air. We're in a garage in behind where Jules is. And before we go, we want to show you some old tools and some old boxes just before we go. And what did you say this is, Jules, right here?
That's a keg. This is how you used to buy your nails. 100-pound keg.
And it was a wooden top?
It had a wooden top.
You see how this...
fit right in there, and you broke that out, and then you'd have your nails. But that was too heavy to carry around. So we'd make nail buckets.
Out of one of these, out of the keg.
Take the keg and just set out, leave two of the runners up, make a little handle, and we carry our nails with this. And of course, if the nails got wet, the water would leak out of here because it's wood.
Okay, yes.
A metal bucket, your nails would rust.
Okay.
So
when it rains, you put them inside, they don't get wet at all.
Oh, well, sometimes we work out in the rain.
Uh-oh, I don't want to be a contractor.
Well,
okay, this great big box right here, tell us before you open this, what is this?
This is my grandfather's toolbox.
A toolbox. Much bigger than what we have. It's hard to carry.
He put all his tools in there.
All right, show us the inside of this. Your grandfather, Jules Trahan.
Right.
1880.
That's when he started working.
So he may not have put, that may not be, look at how the hinges are countersunk here. Nice inside, all this. This is double in here. And I don't know if Calvin can see
all handmade.
So tell us, he'd bring this to the job.
You would take your toolbox right to the job because you didn't have cars today, and you'd have this right near where you're working. So when you needed a tool, you didn't go chasing for it. It was right there.
Okay, now in here you see this. These trays would slide on a wooden track. See, you could bring that one,
right
take it out, and then this one would slide, and you could take it out, and there was another one.
You kept going till you got to the bottom.
All right, what's this called?
That's a divider.
Divider.
That's a mark wood. You just set this thing here, and you would make some mark on the wood.
You scribe a line, 2.5 or whatever.
You scribe the piece of wood.
That's
where you cut it.
Right. You know, today we mark over here 3 inches and mark 3 inches, then go get a straight edge, right? And we scribe a line. That's all done in one motion.
They used to do this with a scriber.
All right. Now here's another one, the same type of thing. His name's right in on him. Look, this one's rounded. Nice old piece. Nice old tool. Nice old piece of tool. And this is nothing to do in this box.
No, I don't know how that got in there.
I guess if you lose your hammer, you'll use it, but this is really to fix shoes for the shoemaker. You put this inside to put the nails in your old shoes. Okay, and what this?
Now that there.
That don't belong in here
that
either.
Doesn't belong in there, but he probably had that on the job to fix his tobacco.
Okay, that's a tobacco.
Cutter.
Yeah, you put your tobacco in and you would.
Put your fingers in
you chop.
You chop your tobacco. You keep pushing it in there. And
I'll never forget.
You come out fine. You put that in your
I'll
pipe.
never forget the first time I used one of those, Jules. The first time I used one of those.
I didn't use too many of those.
Okay, some of the.
Down in here. You got a broad axe here.
All right.
Now see how that's made?
Face it toward the camera.
It's off center, and it's sharp just on one side.
Okay.
Now, when you took a beam, an
8-inch
log, you want to make it square.
Yes.
You put a line on it.
Yes.
And you stand on there, and you kept going right through there, and you chop that off.
Yeah,
and you're not to such a line.
You don't do that today.
No, you don't. And I never did it either. But this is what they use to do that. It's called a broad axe.
And you see the handle is some.
Angle.
Even the handles used to be crooked sometimes.
So that's a to hold you to go straight.
Yes. They used to have the handle so when you were.
Some of them had a real
curved handle so you didn't hit the log as you were cutting.
And I've got one of those around too, a longer one.
Now, here's an old, well, an old saw. Now, I guess you know, now this.
So do some hewing.
If you wanted to hew a log, you know, like you see them all notched, so that's what this is used for. There's a real old white.
Well, that's a real old bit brace. There's not too many frills on this.
I don't know if you know that. You're making me very upset that you got these nice old tools in a box out here, and they should be on your wall in your office.
Well, my office is not big enough. Here's another one. This is a straight one.
And all right, and this also it's sharpened on both sides like a regular axe.
No, it's on one side.
Only one side too? Okay.
Has to be to keep the log straight.
Straight. Okay. That's to sharpen a saw. There's something I don't know what it is.
Well, I don't know. It's some little whittling.
And it's also got a sharp here too.
It's a whittling tool.
All right.
Here's an old.
Make a hole in the barrel. Bunghole maker.
Right.
That's what it says.
It starts here, and see, it'll
Yep.
make this all the way
Okay.
up.
See, it's got a
Knife in there.
knife in there,
As long as you got an arm to turn it, you're all right.
and you turn this, and
Yeah,
it made your
turning it.
hole in your
Beam to put a plug in.
and a plug in the beam too. Okay, and it's tapered.
Right.
Okay. Before we close up your box, here, this you showed me. Tell me about this.
Well, this is, well, we can
I'll
call
hold this so he can see what it looks like, first of all.
This is something that the mason's tender would use, a helper. You put the bricks in there, and you put that on your shoulder, and you run up the ladder. You run up because they're in a hurry, and you run back down and do that all day.
Oh, my God. You had a whole 15, 20 bricks.
Now about 15, and then you brought the mortar up the same way, and just dump it on the board.
And when you got home, you were very glad to be home and to eat?
Well, then you rested up for the next
Yes,
day.
you did, eh? Yes, you did. You don't work quite that hard today.
Today, nobody knows what these are today.
Okay. There's an awful lot of things back in this building. I'm going out of my mind enjoying all this back in here, but we can't stay here much longer. We're Calvin's Cole, and I'm Cole, and Jules and I were going to go now to the house, I guess, down on
Right.
Trahan Drive, and we'll be right back with you. And thanks so much for watching. You're watching what's going on here on this Sunday night and every Sunday night. And we're talking today with Jules Trahan, one of the longtime Trahan contractors in the northern tier and from the lower Quebec area. And we'll be right back. We're in the reception room, the opening room of the Anchorage Hotel on Lake Street on the corner of Academy, right?
Correct.
And we're talking with Jules Trahan and a brand new person. Your name?
Greg Seguin.
Greg Seguin, and you're here to do what, Greg? Step talk to me.
The electrical and the plumbing.
Electrical, plumbing, and heating here. And we're going to take a tour inside here, make it part of the construction story today. But before we do that, we want to explain to you the very unusual, right, brand new type of heating.
Right.
Is it real new? How new is this in-floor heating?
Oh, it's been around probably 5-6 years.
Okay.
It's in the area now.
All right, so let me just take about 2 minutes, and you're going to see about a 5-minute promotion by the in-floor company. This, tell us, where's the water heated?
The water heater is heated from a conventional hot water boiler in the cellar.
In the cellar?
It comes up through the copper lines into this circulation pump, which mixes and lowers the water temperature so it's under 140 degrees. Then these manifolds circulate it through the floor.
Okay, it says here, entry, lobby, 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 lobby. It's going to be a very warm lobby. South, center, north, and behind the desk. And
The loops for the water pipe have to be less than 200 feet per loop, so that's why you have more
Okay.
one manifold per room.
all right, now
They loop out.
I asked him about the copper pipes, the only ones I see here, and these go to the same type of a heating system up in the belfry.
Remote manifold up on the office upstairs.
Okay, while we're here, I wonder what the black one was for, and that's
Air conditioning.
air conditioning, and they try to insulate it here. This is not an inverted ladder. You see, that's the bottom of the stairway that goes up. What's going to be upstairs?
That's a private office.
Private office upstairs over the reception room. What we're going to call it? The entry?
This is the lobby.
The lobby. And everybody will come in this door,
Everybody will be coming in through here to go to the dining room
right?
and to go into the bar lounge.
Okay. Can you go that back way to get into the lounge
If you
too?
want to go into the lounge and the bar, you can go into the other door.
Okay. All right, now we're going to talk about this floor. So what happens? This pipe, one is the in, one is the out, right?
Right, where the feed and return, it goes out into a spiral loop which is stapled.
All the way around inside the floor. So you're going to lose us now, where you're going to see about a 5-minute promotion by the in-floor company explaining the advantages, what this is, and you'll see how that pipe is laid down around the floor. And after you see it, we're going to talk about it and show you the pipe and the stapler and can tell us about what you just saw. So we'll take a break right now, and you'll be watching the in-floor heating demonstration. We hope you enjoyed that professionally made story. We were not able to get here when they were laying this. Would like to have seen it laid ourselves here, but we didn't know about it at the time. Jules is holding right here a roll of this pipe. It's a plastic. You can see the end of it here, about a 1/4 inch diameter, 3/8 inside, and it's quite thick compared to it. And remember, every 6 inches, there's one of these going around, and they make the circle. They go out a foot apart. That what you said, a foot apart.
A foot apart, and then it spirals into the center, then you work it back.
You work it back
around again.
So you're 6 inches apart.
apart.
We're competing against the saw right now. So this is laid all around, and then when it gets back, it comes back to the same location again, and then they got to go again. So that's and only 200 feet per.
No more than 200 feet
per loop, right?
Per loop. Okay.
All right. Now, how do you hold this down? It looks very easy in that demonstration.
A special staple gun.
Okay.
That's designed to fit the pipe.
I wondered why the staple didn't compress
so
it.
The staple shoots right around the pipe every time.
It holds it, but it doesn't compress it.
Right.
It never breaks it.
Almost never.
Sometimes it
Once
does.
in a while I'll make a mistake.
The man who works for you makes a mistake. You didn't make a mistake.
That's it.
And if you make a mistake, what do you have to do? Splice it?
You take out the whole loop and start over again.
What do you
No
do?
splices in the floor.
Unless you've got a place to put that link you've used, it's gone. You can't use it anymore.
That's it.
Because you don't need a leak,
You
right?
have to be careful.
Okay, so we're standing right now on some of this gypcrete right here. And it's like a cement, but it's not a cement. And you told me it's very, very...
It's a gypsum-based product. It's about a 1/4 of the weight of concrete.
Okay, and if
especially designed for...
all right, if a leak occurred, not supposed to, but if a leak occurred, once you get this down, I hope you test it before you put that top layer, right? I think it said test it 3 times, right?
The water is pressurized before the
Okay.
gypcrete is poured.
Now, if you get a leak, it will not follow the pipe, you told me. What will happen?
What will happen is the gypsum does not shrink when it dries, so if their leak does occur, the floor will have a wet spot at the point of leakage. So it's much easier to dig through and put a splice and patch it.
But if you can't splice it when you put it in, how are you going to splice it when you have a problem later?
It can be spliced, but
You're not
the
supposed
recommendation
to.
is
Okay,
not
but you
to
could
salt
put a
splice.
splice in later.
It can be spliced. There are splices for it.
Okay. Have you ever done this kind of work before? On this kind of a heating
is our
system?
first system,
Your
yeah,
first
first
one?
system.
Are there any more in the North Country you know of?
No.
This is
There's a
it?
Not
There's
this
a few
brand,
of
there are other
There's
types.
a few other brands in the plastic
Uh-huh.
area.
Yeah. And the advantage of this is no...
Well, you've got no drafts, you have no baseboard or ductwork on the outside walls. Your floor is warm, so as it goes up, your temperature cools. In fact, the ceiling is cooler than the floor.
so
Just
that-
the reverse of
yes.
conventional system.
Okay, yes.
So it's, in the long run, it's cost saving
Yeah.
energy wise.
And that little red unit circulates the...
That circulates the water.
like
that comes
is it water?
Oh, yes.
I got the impression when I watched that it might be some other kind of a liquid. No?
No.
It is water, just regular water.
This type of system here is a very, very clean operating system.
I can see that. It wouldn't be up here anyway.
There's no dust created.
None whatsoever. No
There's no
movement.
air movement.
Yeah. And where is your heat? Where is your cooling system? Don't tell me that's in the floor too.
No,
Yeah, that's a separate. That's a
Now, where?
separate.
How will they? Where is the air conditioning going to come out?
They're suspended.
They're suspended, and you will. You can see them out here. Okay, that would be your. Okay, that will be the cooling, the in and out for the cool air. All right. Well, is there anything else you want to tell me about this heating? Well, you tell us maybe a little bit more right in here. What happens? As you say, you can control the heat in each
You
one.
can control this. Say if you have one part of the room is a little warmer than the other, these can be turned and just reduce the flow of water to balance out.
Okay.
the system.
Only 200 feet per unit, so there's 1,000 feet right here.
Well, no,
up to
it's
1,000.
yeah,
Up to
it could
1,000.
be as much as
Up
that.
to
These
1,000.
are chartered
You've certainly got more than 1,000 feet in this building.
Oh, yeah.
How many would you say you've got pipe?
8,000.
8,000.
Approximately.
So there's only enough here for 1,000. How do you get it to the other 7,000?
Well, you have, there's
This is
four
small
other,
area.
You got
four
more-
other units like that.
More circulators somewhere else.
Right.
More units of that around. And closer to each room and so
Right.
forth. Well, I don't know much about to ask you about the heat. Is there anything else you can think of, Jules, about this heating system? Did you have any problem trying to sell Scott on the idea?
No, he wanted to have the heat in the floor to start with.
Okay.
That's why we got thinking about it and getting together, and we went to a seminar deals with Inflow to learn all about it.
Is this practical for a house? We saw it in the
Yes.
house and the thing, yes?
Very-
Up here?
Up here.
Yes? Are you building any houses down that you're going to advocate it?
Not right now, we're not.
Will it be much more expensive than a normal heating system in, say, in Rouse's Point?
Well, it'd be more expensive than electric heat.
In Rouse's, what about in
Rouse's
Champlain?
Point,
We don't have
on the
electric heat.
outside.
It's approximately, compared to a hot water baseboard system, approximately 20% more.
20% more, okay.
But it would
you
cost
get
less to operate.
You get a finished floor with the job doing.
Yep. Now, if I were going to go to Florida, which my wife just left and I'm not, I'm always worried about something's going to freeze in my hot water system at home if electricity goes off or something else. You can put antifreeze, I understand, in the situation, right? You don't have any of this system?
No, we don't have any.
Because they're going to be here all the time. But if you're going to be out of town, you certainly would advocate it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's a very simple process to add it to the system.
Because the water in the heating system doesn't evaporate?
Very, very little.
So it's the same it's a closed system.
So in a matter of a year's time, you're maybe only talking a gallon of water.
And if it's closed system, you lose a gallon, does more come in automatically?
Automatically.
Oh, okay, closed system, but it's automatic. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the building here, see what a few people have done. Calvin, I don't know if you showed here where this is the north end, we're on Lake Street. The driveway is out here. This is the entranceway. I say one thing, it's not going to be dark in the entranceway. You've got a big glass door and 4 windows that open. And then the glass door coming into the lobby. So you're coming into the Anchorage Hotel, and you got this beautiful lobby with 1, 2, 3 big doors and a stairway going upstairs, which is not for the public. You've got 3 windows on my left and 2 on the right. We certainly got windows in the building. Who designed the building, do you know?
Mark Kane, the architect, he's from Malone, New York.
I think maybe we heard that before when we did the story. Okay, now there's going to be a desk in here. Can you give us any
There's
idea?
a desk right here.
Right?
And this desk will take care of all motel reservations, the dining room,
The bar that we
the
go
bar. The bar will be more or less by itself.
through. Okay, and to get in the bar, they will be going in this door. That will be that's not a door. They'll go through this way.
To the bar and lounge.
Okay, and there'll be chairs or something over in this
Chairs
area.
out here.
Okay, that's going to be all closed up. You know what kind of wall we're going to have in here?
It'll be all painted.
Painted. Okay, so it's a regular wall painted. We'll take a break now before we go into the rest of the rooms here at the new Anchorage Lounge and Restaurant and Dining Room. We're back and we're going to take a fast tour of the Anchorage itself as it is today and what it's going to be. We're in the
Dining room.
dining room here now. We just come in from the lobby and you see the windows. There's four, my gosh, look at them. 1, 2, 3, that's 12, 14, 16 windows across the front, 2 there, and 6 on the other side. That's 8 and 14, 22 windows, and plus the circles on top. It's very, very lighted here, and we've got the same kind of a floor. There'll be rugs on top of here, whatever they're going to put.
There'll be rugs in the dining room and ceramic and the rest.
Okay, and this little thermostat, it says in floor. There's one in each section. There's one over in that section there, and there's one here. And over here, Calvin, is you can see that whole unit again. Another one of the sections, And this is strictly for the dining room, is that right?
Strictly for the dining room.
And you said they're going to have something
There's
else?
going to be a little coffee deal.
There'll be a coffee maker here?
Maker here and cups and extra
Okay.
silverware.
For the dining, they'll keep their coffee warm. And everybody will come in through here, and you can either go out this way or you can go out that other door. It's strictly an exit, right?
Exactly. But they can go into the lounge from the other side over here.
Okay. And these here will be actual windows, or are they left open?
No, there'll be windows.
And the reason for that is
Keep the sound out from the...
there's more noise in there where they're in the lounge than there is here in the dining room.
Dining room.
Okay. And if Calvin wants to get a shot, maybe from here, a long distance, you can see that this will be the lounge here,
Right.
here, and then the bar is going to be,
The bar's going to be right in that area with the step ladder.
okay, way over in there. Okay, we'll go around the corner here and you take a picture. All right, yeah, we're looking at, this is for columns outside.
Columns outside,
In the-
alongside the windows.
Okay, along each window?
Yep, there's 26 of them.
26, and you've taken a regular 8-inch board, and you have used a router and made 4 grooves.
Four grooves, we flute them.
You fluted them. All right, now this fella is sanding a fluter. He's the flute. And those will be in the front along each window, and then around the and side too, right? Not the back, the other side. Okay. And there'll be how many?
26.
26 of these. And how long are those?
14 feet.
14. The dining room is
64 feet long,
all right.
14 feet wide.
14 feet wide, the main
We
part.
have an L part here, which is 13 by 14.
Okay. You're planning on tables over here too?
Yes.
Okay.
All
All right.
The waitresses will be back into this,
Back into the kitchen.
back into the kitchen. And if you want to leave to go out to the washroom, you'll be leaving through this area.
In through this area.
The washroom, which is right behind you.
Okay, and you want to know where you are? That's Academy Street. You go up to the end of the street is the Aris, Wyatt Aris, and there is the Johnston home right across the Academy, and then there's Lake, and the Lake Street, and another thermostat over here. You'll notice. So this particular this area here has a separate thermostat from the other area. Yet we're in the same room. And as you come around the corner, you can see these are what, 12 by 4?
5/8 thick.
5/8 thick sheetrock. Do you do all the final work on those two? Okay. And this is the lounge, which is really bigger than the dining room. Quite a bit bigger. Twice the size of the dining room, huh? Awfully close.
Just about.
The bar will be over where that red ladder is. Right. What are these great big units over
We
here?
had those for temporary heat in the beginning.
Oh, you need heat when you work like this before the heat system comes in?
Well, if we needed it, we had it here.
You don't work in the cold?
Well,
you can work
when I put the
faster?
floor in, we had to have heat here. We wanted to make sure it's going to be ready.
You have to have,
Now they're
heat.
just sitting there.
Yeah, those are called
Salamanders.
salamanders. I asked you before, I think it was off camera, what looks like going to be a window there out into that hallway, and you told me, I don't know if
That's
that
going to
was...
be one of the original windows that was in the old Anchorage. Stained glass.
Stained glass will be there.
Which was in the entranceway.
Okay.
And we're going to have that into the rear entrance, the lounge, between the hall and the lounge.
So you can come in from the parking lot in through
Right,
that door,
through that door.
over there if you want to come in the lounge without
Lounge
going
and the
through the
bar.
lobby. Come into the lounge, right? Only. And this will be the lounge area, and the bar will be over there. And a lot of the business for the Anchorage, well, they had a small bar downstairs.
Yes.
It'll be bigger here than it
It'll
was
be a
then.
lot bigger here.
Because a lot of people wanted to congregate down there. And it'll be handier than going downstairs. They aren't going to use the downstairs at this point for
At
anything?
this point, not right now, no.
Okay. Is this building made so they can put a second story
No.
on it? Not that way at all.
No.
So if they wanted to go bigger, they either fix downstairs or they go into another direction.
Go
To the rear of it, huh? Because at this point, there'll be no banquets or anything like that.
That I don't know.
All right. So you'll be going out. The hallway goes in. Where do we go if we go straight?
The kitchen behind us.
The kitchen is behind? Well, let's go over to the kitchen. You want to take a break right here while I get around to the kitchen? Okay, we'll keep going. He said he could keep this going. And these are the bathrooms?
These are the washrooms.
I'll tell you, they are huge.
They have to be today.
Well, they
For
certainly...
codes.
Like for code? They're huge. It'd be great, big bathrooms. And there'll be no more going downstairs like before to go to the bathroom like we did in
No
the old
more, no.
Anchorage. No, that was a problem for some people.
It kept people walking.
Yes, yeah. Well, I guess the ladies had their room upstairs. So this this area right here is strictly a way to go. Oh, here again, we got 10 units here, I guess, or 12. Again, some more of these units. There'll be a panel distribution for this whole lounge area, right? And
This is going to be coming out of the kitchen with the food,
okay.
and this will be going into the kitchen.
Ah, you don't. It's not two doors and swing one each way.
No,
Okay.
they're separated. And this will be the kitchen,
That's coming out.
out of the food.
Well, just like in London, folks, you go to the left, not to the right. I would go to the right and come in that way, but that's the way it's set up. All right? So this is the kitchen area. Not many windows in here, Jules.
No
Not many windows.
This is the cooler.
The cooler that goes into the back, a great big walk-in cooler. Oh my, look at the size of this. We can't see in here, but oh, how big is this? There's two doors. Oh, here, you want to take a peek at a cooler, Calvin? This is a cooler. Good grief.
Part of this cooler now will be, half of it will go to the kitchen, the other half will go to the bar.
Yes, and I see as you come in from outdoors.
And you'll be coming in from outdoors to bring all the goods in. They'll have a partition in here to separate them.
Is this what cools it right here? So there's no in-floor heating in this.
No
room.
heat out here at all.
This is I got the metal floor also.
Insulated cooler. It's into the building. This is the part that's in the back of the building.
It's completely outside the building. Right?
Right.
It's an additional. Is it come as a unit?
Yeah. No, it comes in pieces.
Comes in pieces. Now, did you put that up, or did that put up?
Trainer.
Trainer puts that up themselves.
They do
huh?
all the air conditioning work. It'll close
Yep.
by itself. It takes time and it closes by itself.
Closing by itself. Just like the trunk in my car. And there's another one on the other side so that you'll be going that way in from the bar for all your drinks and your beers and things. It'll be all cool there. And the food in here. Terrific, eh? The door does open in this way.
There'll be a cutout here of a glass door. That'll be the refrigerator. You just open this door and all the goods that they need. It eliminates the refrigerator.
So that'll be right
It'll be in there.
Terrific. And this is up here for some reason. This going to be a grill?
No, well, this is a work area. That's a stairway to go down to the basement.
Oh, so that they'll just be working on here. There will be a working table. And these are your sinks over here?
Sinks for the dishes.
All right. We're not just talking about the anchorage. We're here to see construction. So let's just talk about construction. What are we talking here? 12 feet?
12-foot ceilings.
12-foot ceiling. Why does it have to be that high?
Well,
The reason?
you're going to have air moving
Airflow?
around.
Okay.
And to run all the stuff.
Okay.
Pipes and everything.
All right. Now, we're going to ask you a couple of questions here as a contractor. This is for your sinks. Another sink over there. Obviously, all liquids will go down by gravity.
Right.
What kind of water is going to go up? Why do you have pipes going up?
Well, that's one for other areas.
They're going up.
This is the vent.
Ah, we just learned something. Yes.
This is the
Tell
vent
me about
to
that.
make this work.
What do you mean
You have
it
to have air to push the water down.
How does it work? What do you mean you got to have a
This
vent?
goes right out the roof.
So this goes over to here.
Right. Vent up and through the roof.
You'll see these on the top of trailers, mobile homes. You'll see these pipes come out. You wonder what it is? It's not a stovepipe. It's for a vent. Also, some odor will go up and out. All right? And also, if you didn't have that, you'd have a locked system. There'd be no air, and it would not flow.
It would just gurgle.
It gurgles is right. So I knew that, but I'm not sure everybody out there knows that. All right? But now this is for your water pipes.
Water pipe.
Those are pretty low. What's going to happen down there?
The sinks.
Oh, inside
Under
the
the
sink.
sinks.
And this is for the faucets. A lot of piping. There's your chimney.
The chimney. We have a hot water boiler.
What's going to be up there? Don't know. Okay. Remember, that heating system is all the way through here again also, right?
Correct.
Same as throughout the building. And this around
It's
here,
going to be the entrance to the kitchen.
entrance for the kitchen for employees going out.
Employees in
And
out.
this goes down to your basement,
Down
which
the
is right opposite the door for storage down there also,
Yeah.
right? Must be a huge hole in the ground. And we saw it before, if you remember, when we did here we talked to Scott's daughter, Scott Marnie's daughter. We were looking at Jules down in the basement, large basement. Is he going to have any particular use for it other than
Right
storing
now,
at this time?
I
Nothing,
was
right?
going to have a laundry area.
So you could have a bowling alley or something nearly, huh?
Well, they could
Play
have.
basketball down there.
Just
How
about
high is the ceiling?
8'6".
Oh, you could play basketball as long as you didn't have to shoot. All right, we'll take a short break and be right back to you. We're in the Anchorage Hotel. You're watching What's Going On Here. We're talking construction with Jules Trahan Construction Company, and we're going to be right back. Thanks for watching Hometown Cable and What's Going On Here. I'm Bob Venn.
Jules
Jules
Trahan.
Trahan. Right back. We're in the kitchen where we mentioned there's no windows. The only light here is coming from that the door, the glass in the door. And I was commenting about this insulated, looks like about an inch thick right
That's
here,
inch
right?
thick.
Inch thick. And
That's
it's got,
Tyvex.
it's what?
Thermo.
Here, and that reflects the heat, right? Now, I asked you, is this going to be the final wall, or what goes on top of here?
We're going to have sheetrock on top of that. 2 layers of 5/8 fire-rated sheetrock
2 layers.
Layers
That's
of
an inch and a
5/8.
quarter.
of sheetrock on the
Fire-rated.
walls and ceiling.
And ceiling throughout the kitchen?
Throughout the
Even
kitchen.
on the inside wall,
Even on
over
the
there?
inside wall. The kitchen will be 1 unit by itself.
Contained,
Directly contained.
absolutely. So there's no doubt that when this is all finished, that probably this little area in the kitchen, this area in the kitchen would probably cost as much in here as the rest of the whole building
it's gonna be a lot in
combined.
there with the
An awful lot of money
equipment
into a
the
kitchen
kitchen
to
today.
run up, yeah, and it's all very well
Because you'll
controlled.
have your hoods,
Yes.
which will be
And
automatic.
this unit right here has got to be,
And the cooler.
yeah. All right, Jules, I've heard through the grapevine that they're shooting for an April date to open the Anchorage again. Any comments about that?
Well, that's what he's shooting for.
Right? You don't know when it's going to open.
No, I don't. Personally, I don't know.
When will you be done?
We'll be done here in the first part of February.
1st of February. We're talking within a month or so.
Right.
But after that,
But he has to have all his kitchen installed.
you don't do any of that.
We won't have nothing
Okay.
in the kitchens.
You don't do anything with the rugs,
And no carpeting or tile on the floor. That's
painting.
no painting.
You don't do that
He's
either.
going to do that himself with his own people.
You're doing the construction.
We'll have
And
everything ready to paint.
They do the decorating and
They
all
do
the
the
other things
decorating.
afterwards. So that's whenever they get finished. But
And,
then,
as far as the bar, that'll be coming in as a separate unit,
and-
being installed.
yeah. And when did you start this?
We started here in a few days before Labor Day.
Okay. So you've been pretty steady here for
We've been pretty steady.
about 5 6 months, right? No other jobs going while you were doing this one? Any big jobs while you were doing this one?
No, but we have the housing going on
Yes.
also.
Okay. Let's name a few things around the community that you have worked on. If you can rattle them off to me here, a few. Starting with I think you mentioned we were talking Beaumont.
No,
You didn't do the Beaumont. There was another one we talked
we
here.
did a medical center,
A medical center. You did the medical center.
did Three Steeple Church
Medical center. That's over 20 years ago.
30 years ago,
30 years ago. I
1960.
was only 20 years old. Go ahead. What? The Three Steeple?
Three Steeple
You
Church.
built that too? I didn't know that. All right. Did
Murder Brothers right up the street from them, and fertilizer
you
plant.
built the Berno? All
And then
right.
we were in Champlain for a while. Built the library in Champlain, St. John's Church Hall,
In Champlain.
the shopping center.
What? You built the shopping
Italian
center?
shopping, yeah.
You were you were the contractor for that?
1975.
How little I know, huh? 75, 15 years. God, 15 years. Okay.
We built the first one in Champlain downtown in the A&P. And the
You
bank.
built that also? Okay. Anything here in other ones in Rouse's Point?
Grand Union, the Key Bank.
Grand Union, the Key Bank, and homes you built.
A lot of homes.
What about some of the homes your dad was involved in? Some of the
They
buildings?
built a few back in the 30s.
Okay, was he into heavier construction too?
No, just in homes.
Mostly homes, huh? And then your grandfather, did he build here in Rouse's Point? Or he was
The only
in
thing he
Canada?
built was in the Montgomery Hotel.
Oh, okay, yes.
The rest was in Canada.
Okay, you had nothing to do with the Holland,
No.
nothing like that, huh?
I don't know who
You
built
do
the
any
house.
renovation in the Holland at all? Have you ever done
No.
there? You've renovated the two we talked about, Myers and
Myers
and
building, we did a lot
Ben
of work
Franklin,
there.
right? Who did the shopping center here in Rogers
We
Point?
did.
You
I
did
did.
that one here too? Anyone did the one in Champlain?
That one in Ross Pines in 1965.
Are you running out of? There's no more land. What are you going to do with it? There's no more land left to build on here. Jules Trahan.
Maybe retire.
You're going to retire. Hey, listen, these people don't want you to retire. All right, we're going to move over to a house on Treya. We came here because it was during the noon hour. It's running about 10 after 12 right now. We're going to go over and see a house under construction, and then we're going to be calling it quits. For this program, we're talking with Jules Trahan, and we'll be right back. What's going on here? We're into construction again today, and we've just moved into a residence on Treya Drive, right? Trahan Drive, and the reason they call it Trahan is because there's one Trahan, here's another Trahan. Name is?
Mike Trahan.
Mike, and are you the youngest son?
Yeah.
You're the baby? Are you the baby?
Of the boys.
Of the boys, okay. And this is going to be your house, right?
Yeah.
And you're in the contracting business too?
Yeah.
You're to be, what generation would he be then? That's got to be,
Number 5.
Number
The
5.
sixth.
The sixth one down, huh?
6th generation.
Well, you've got a good name to work on for contracting, huh? And you've done some of these building of the houses on this street,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you're building one next door for Ralph, right? Wares. And we're going to look at your house here, and we're going to see some things that are quite different. And we're going to start right off with this wall. I thought that this was a 6-inch wall. I said, you got a 6-inch wall here, right? And they said, no, 8, right? So tell me about the wall. You start off here if you
He'll
want.
explain it.
Okay, explain the wall, Mike. Go right ahead, and I'll let you build around me here. I'll get behind it here. Go right ahead, guys.
This is the bottom plate. You lay your top and bottom
You
plate
put this
out.
over behind you? Okay, go ahead.
Lay your top and bottom plates out.
The irregular 2x8, right?
No, these here.
Those there. All right, well, show them what this looks like here first. Here. How this is made, right? You've got what looks like a 2x2, right? With a piece of plywood in between that you buy made up.
all made up.
Made up. And you buy that in what lengths?
Those are pre-cut stud lengths.
Pre-cut studs.
But how long?
8 foot.
8 footers, right? Okay. When you say stud, you mean automatically 8 feet?
8 feet.
Okay. So this goes on one wall, right? I mean, on along in there. This is a 2-inch. Can you see that all right, Calvin? Okay. And then
2-inch
this
Tarmac.
is your you got 2 feet on center?
2 foot on centers.
2 feet on center instead of the normal 16 inches, okay? So this fits in.
You have to put that in as you're building.
Oh, you don't squeeze it?
No.
You can't,
No,
you
you
can't.
gotta do this.
Okay, as you put one in, you put this, and you put the other one on it. Okay, so you can't go wrong or where you put it. You just butt up against it, nail it.
There's a little bit of play.
Okay,
Very little. So that goes like that.
okay,
And you go right down your wall.
all right. I got just a hole in this here.
And then this.
Can you put it over in this side here so you can see it?
That's cool.
That's a little strip that comes with the operation.
I'll push into there like that.
Okay, so that goes the whole length. That insulates it and it holds it, and the same on the other side. This is reflective, where your heat can't go out. This is about a 2-inch, right?
2-inch thick.
2-inch thick. And what do they call this? This
Tarmac. Termax.
Termax. All right.
Insulation.
And then what you have, if you look here, let me show you here. You have about a 3.5-inch opening here, right?
Correct. 3.5.
Before you put your sheetrock here. But on the outside, you see you've got about 1.5 inches here, airspace. You got airspace on both sides, 1.5 and 3.5. Then your outside siding would go here, right?
Correct.
You got it. Then you have an airspace, 2 inches, airspace 3.5. Then your 5/8, 5/8 or a half-inch, half-inch sheetrock, which will go on here.
Correct.
So what you've got is sheetrock, 3.5 inches airspace, 2 inches of insulation with the reflective, right? And then 1.5 inches airspace, and then your outside boarding, and then your siding.
Correct.
Correct? Which is very new, isn't it? That's something
This is
brand new?
a new system.
What's it called?
Barrier system.
Want to come around here,
Barrier.
Mike? Barrier system? Now, there's a house in Champlain, I think that Garceau owns it now. It started to be built by Harrigan on Route 11, next to
Yeah.
Boucher's, and he had an 8-inch wall. It was going to have two
If that was a double
wall,
section.
right.
This is not like this at all. That was a
Okay,
different type system.
but you're using 8 inches here. Now, I want to tell you that there's no heat in this building right now.
None.
The temperature outside is 20 or 15, 18, whatever it is. And it's warm enough in here to not have any gloves. It's probably 45, 50.
40.
And that's from coming through the few windows that you see here. And it's retaining what little heat in here because it's airtight, right? And do they tell you what this might, what it might cost you to heat this for a year?
No.
You don't have any idea, huh?
It's less, but it all depends on what type of heat you're putting in and where you are.
Okay, you're going to have electric baseboard, Mike?
Yes.
And this is going to be your house,
Yeah.
right? This is your house. Where are you living now?
Down on Pratt Street.
You own that house?
No, apartment.
You can now going to have your own, eh? You know what's nice about a house of your own? They say you can do anything you want. And what I used to do, when it came time for the mortgage payment, you go out in the backyard and you yell because you can do it. It's yours, see? But I'm telling you, when you see the mortgage payment, you have to yell, all right? All right. Well, let's see some other things that are different. Now, this is the R factor, very important. Let's take, first of all, the average R factor in a 4-inch wall with insulation like this.
About 14.
About 14. The average house in the ceiling, when you can put 7 to 10 inches, you would have 19 to 22, something like that?
It's about 19.
Okay, what's your R factor going to be on the walls with this?
33.8.
33.8, which means you're going to retain inside, correct? Do you do anything with this on the ceiling?
No.
The upstairs, that'll be the normal insulation.
Yeah.
So you're talking, I think we talked a little bit earlier, on how much more expensive is this kind of construction compared to normal construction?
It's about $1,500.
About $1,500 in a house this size. How many square feet, give or take?
Right around 2,000.
2,000. And I would think it'd be an excellent investment, right? Does this give you any more strength at all?
They say it's stronger.
They say it's stronger, but I would say it's
Well, you've got
probably-
an 8-inch wall. That's going to
Right.
can't lose anything there, right? And then you've got. The other thing you mentioned is that when you put in an electrical unit,
all your wiring is done.
have you got an extra box around here that might show us? The average house, when you put a box in, you move this out of the way. Up here. When the average house, when you have a box, it's inside the insulation. You insulate around it. When you put this up here, where it goes, it's all open. It's open in here.
So
Now,
you're getting no air going in there at all.
all right. Now, one more. I got a question that just came up. What about the fire trap?
This is confined to just that one area.
Okay, it can't go above it.
Can't go above it.
All right.
Framed into this. It's only a 2x8 area.
Now, what am I thinking? What's that called? The old construction,
Oh, balloon frame.
the old houses,
balloon frame.
you had to have a
Firewall.
barrier right
Right.
across so they didn't shoot up
Wouldn't go up.
right up into the attic, right? But this would be confined.
This is confined right here.
This
to
is
the
confined to these 4 walls, right?
Right.
And you see here, this, what you think would come in and around, what I thought when I first saw it, is really a piece, half-inch, that goes right inside here, that seals that off just as nice.
Good and tight. That's
Good
the
and
whole-
tight.
That's
And you-
the secret behind the whole thing, keeping it tight.
And you don't put any plastic like some people do, nothing. It goes right onto that drywall. So behind
There's your
here
barriers right here.
is 3.5 inches of nothing
nothing.
before you get to this. Okay, some other innovations in this house then that we see. This is called wall within a wall barrier system, right there. Did you put it up in sections like this?
Yep. Yeah.
You did, huh? So you have to build it as you go and put it in as you go. I notice you have furring strips. And I asked, I guess, if you're going to put up tile, and the answer was
No.
no. But so instead of nailing it right to the floor joists, you're going to put it on this, and then, as you say, you can level it. If it's off a little bit, you can put a wedge in or whatever you want, right?
Yeah.
Just make sure that it's good and level. And see, you got a fireplace, big fireplace here, beautiful fireplace. You've got, now this is unusual. Why do you have a foot space between the 2 windows? Is that in design? That's design. No reason except for that. Okay. The kitchen is back in here. This is a built-in vacuum.
No.
No,
Sirloin.
I'm sorry. This is sewer line. Here's the bathroom. You've got a built-in vacuum. Where am I?
The grade.
Right up here. This is here's going to be the built-in vacuum here. The bathroom is directly above, and all your pipes are insulated. Here, have insulation around all the pipes for sweating and so forth, right?
Right, that's for sweating.
You put that on the hot water pipes as well as
And cold.
as both of them, and it retains the heat in the pipes, even when the hot water. Correct?
Yeah.
And this is a window, and that you're going to have big with this 8-inch wall. You have big windowsills, right? Deep windowsills.
They'll be like the old homes now.
Yeah. And what else do we have here? These big, are those unusually big across doorways?
Well, we got a two-story here.
Okay, maybe
Carried
that's,
upstairs,
okay. Yes. And then you mentioned now this, you made your own beam here.
Right.
That's a little bit unusual what you've done. Is this normal? People do this very often,
Well,
Jules? You wanted extra strength,
A lot of extra strength.
so you put it,
long.
what, 3-inch or 2.5 inch?
3
3-inch? What are they?
3 by 12s.
3 by 12s, and they're fur?
Fur
that-
wood.
And then right in between it,
We fish plated with a 1/4-inch steel.
1/4-inch steel plate that goes right between to add strength for upstairs. And one of the things I was mentioning is that you find different in today's construction compared to the old, and that's those metal
Joist
things.
hangers.
What are those called?
Joist hangers.
Joist hangers. What do those do, Mike?
That's what's holding the joist up to the beam.
So you used to have to put them up there and toenail them, right? And trying to get them in where your line said. With this here, it's a regular. You have one of those loose around here? No. You know how well you can see it up there, but can you see those, Calvin? They come down and go underneath, and they just rest right inside. That's an innovation that's in the last few years. Calvin's question was, if you got all this solid insulation, what are you doing with this stuff? What's the deal?
To insulate in between the floors.
Okay, he's insulating along the top of the joist. Where now you can do that two ways, right? You could build an outside wall up and drop these below,
You could.
right? But you got them on top, so you insulate along the top up there to keep the, and that's what that insulation is for. Other than that, you don't have that kind of insulation except up in the ceiling upstairs. Anything else in here that you'd show us that is different in construction or things that are done differently? Well, one of the things, of course, over the years is you have fireplace, what do you call it?
Heatilator.
The heatilator, right? Your old days, you didn't have that. You had to do that by construction. That heatilator means it's a metal unit inside, which
Runs with a fan.
and a fan, and this brings the heat. Why does the air go in below
In
it?
there.
It goes in there.
The air will come out. These holes here.
Oh, you've got the openings in there. Okay.
You could put that up there, but it doesn't look right. So you.
Oh,
just
okay,
need
so
it
the-
open.
The air
heat
goes
come
in
out
here,
and
and the air comes out here. This is not in between here. It's opening. See, it's hollow. That's where you get your circulation off the heat. That's called the heatilator. Now, someone when they put this up, obviously didn't put their bricks very, very flush. These are supposed to be flush with the wall, Jules. Now, who did this wall?
John Fabatko.
For Batko, is this what he usually does? Once he made a mistake, he made one just like it on the other side. So I think it's very nice that way it looks more balanced, right? Very pretty. Your wife's going to put a nice little. Oh, you're going to put a mantle?
Yeah.
That's what you could have done with that door. See if nothing would have been used. Nice oak.
This is gonna be stone.
Ooh, stone across. All right. And what are you doing here?
I'm going to put that on the wall.
On this wall?
This wall.
Okay, so a closet liner you're going to have it for a wall. It'd be pretty. It's pretty.
Yeah.
This is a
Cedar.
cedar that you'd normally use if you're making a cedar closet. And he's going to use it on this wall. So you have to stud this across.
I'm going to put plywood on here.
Okay. And then you put it right on top of it. See?
It'll run out
Won't that be a pretty wall? Very pretty. Yeah, you can hang your sweaters here, see? Afterward. Okay. And what'll be on top of here?
Yeah, stone there too.
Stone there also. Okay. And you'll have we already mentioned your heat will be along the bottom. Lights over the top of the fireplace here. All right. Anything new in innovation? We're going to go upstairs, see what we can see upstairs. We'll be right down. We've just come back onto Elm Street, and we're in the back of Jules's house, and you call this your shop? Wood
Right.
shop? Your shop.
Shop. Base
It's-
of operation.
and it's about, what, 30 by
The whole
30?
building.
30 by 30 here?
It's 40 by 60.
40 by 60. Okay, we're in this section here that's about 25,
20 by 40.
20 by 40 here now. And you can see you've got your, tell me what that big
Loader.
machine is. The loader over there, and what behind it?
Those are behind
The
it.
dozer's behind it. It keeps it up for the wintertime. You got a saw here and a
Joiner.
joiner where he does the sawing. You prepare some of your things here. This has been here how long, this building?
64.
Okay, your dad never had this when he was
No.
doing this. Was here, but he used to come out here when he retired,
yeah.
right? Must have loved to fool around in here. And if you'll see, hundreds of screws, bolts, hooks, all kinds of things on the wall here. And in particularly, this nice solid bench I just started to ask about, which is all the edge of, and we found out where it came from.
Bowling alley, Ross's Point, where the liquor store is today.
And it makes a beautiful bench. It's back here about 40 inches, 40 inches wide, 39 inches wide. And he just told us something that's very unusual. Tell us about this wood again.
One end is hardwood, the other end is softwood,
This was the
where the pins were.
the pins where you, well, that's where the pins, oh yeah, there are the holes. I don't know if you people knew, but when you used to set up pins, there was a lever in behind when you set up pins by hand, and you push the lever down, and a pin, metal pin, came up about, an inch high, and all your pins had holes in the bottom, and you'd put your pins and just drop them over, and then that'd tell you where to line them up, so they were exactly where they're supposed to be. And this is hardwood, and this is softwood, and way at the other end, was it softwood too?
No, then it had another
section of hardwood where you drop your ball. Yeah. And I was noticing all the saws on the wall, some real old saws here, and he started to tell me about these saws again. Who owns whose saws?
That was Henry.
Henry Trahan.
Henry Trahan. Then there was Mac Trahan. Then there was Emery Trahan.
And Jules Trahan.
And there's Jules Trahan.
And I said, well, how do you know so well? If you look at those saws, you might get an idea of how he knows.
A little difference in color.
You know, they put paint so you could identify your saw no matter where it was. If someone steals something from yours, it wasn't hard to tell. My father-in-law used to do that when he loaned his pick and his axe and so forth. He had a red stripe around it with paint, and it identifies your saws, and it doesn't hurt your
Doesn't hurt the saw at all.
not a bit. All right, and here is the a new type of saw that didn't have in years back, and just shows don't have to outwork, but just instead of moving your wood into it, you bring your saw across it,
Into the wood.
and you line it up right here. You got a nice gate, and you got a. Now here's another straight idea. He's unrolled, or he broke his measuring tape. It's broke off here at 5 inches. There's the other 5, I guess. And he just laid it right down. If you want to measure what you got, just bring this board here. You start at 40, and it says it's 48 inches, right? You go anywhere you want. You got it built in without having to. He's got another thing here to use it. And Jules, what do you do in this here? Do you build anything to bring to a job?
Oh, yeah, just all odd stuff. We make it up and send it to the job.
Okay, and you
And
keep
repair our own
and
stuff.
a place. You don't need that big toolbox anymore, like your
No.
grandfather had. You keep it here, and
We
you
keep
bring
it hanging
right?
here.
And you come home to get lunch and so forth, and then go on from there. And this is some more. This a temporary thing in the middle here.
Oh, yeah, just temporary.
That's temporary because they're getting ready for the winter.
Collector.
You got a wood stove going, very nice and warm in here, and then you got a hot air for the rest of the time. And you'll see the shelves over there. And I want to show you in particular something that I noticed. Oh, here's another. You see? See the yellow paint? Identifies that it belongs to one of the Trahans. And they each had their own color. I was noticing this before. And this is what?
Miter box saw.
Miter box saw. And they called it, I used to call it a back saw, right?
saw.
Because it's got an extra thick back. And this goes into, you could take your different angle saws. And this is particularly long. And it says right here, E.A. Trahan, which is Emery, his father. And I wanted to particularly show you, and this is something that will not be around in 50 years. One of the plastic, maybe it will be, but it won't be in very good condition. The knobs are going to come off. There's no hinges. That's one of the newer type boxes. This is the types of things I like. Look at the wood here. But here, this is a Trahan invention, see? That's the latch. Piece of hardwood up here that will spring. And then the force of the wood will force it down. And there's this spool, right? Little round piece you put there. And all of that, instead of getting a little metal, as we say, a taka. Remember the takas, eh? Used to hold it down. And this must be a Trahan door. It's yellow. And all the things on the wall. I just find this very intriguing. And what else can you tell us about your shop? Anything at all?
No, I guess that's about it.
Okay, what's the old ledger? I can't miss that.
That's just nothing in it.
Nothing in it?
Nothing in it.
Well, here, just look at the edge. I say, oh, look at the coloring. Watch your hands here. Let him get, look. That's a real old ledger. What does it say on the back? Can you see right here? Record of entries for transportation and exportation in bond. That's something to do with the surveyor's office. 5959, a real old book. Again, I find that very interesting. But there's nothing in it. It's empty. I guess this was actually for customs. When returned to the collector, that was the collector, when given out, shipping officer. An old book. All right, we're just about ready to close off here now and call it a day with the contracting. And what can you tell us in conclusion that we haven't covered at all? Anything at all, Jules, that what do you expect in the future for construction? You mentioned they're doing units. You buy units and they bring them in.
Well, it's getting to be less work on the job because stuff is coming in components,
Yes.
which is got to keep up with the times.
Yeah. They haven't started to do without basements much, have they?
Not
North,
in this area.
We're still building basements, huh? Well,
If there was no frost, they'd probably go without it now.
A lot of
Okay.
people forget about it.
right. We've been talking with Jules, then with Greg Saye, and we talked at Mike Trahan over in his house, his son, for the past hour, and talking about contracting and talking about the history of the Trahan family in northern New York, particularly in Rouse's Point. It's been a pleasure being here with you, Jules. We thank you very much for your input and
It's been
giving
a
us
pleasure talking with you, Bob.
Well, thank you very
I
much.
want to thank you and also Kevin.
Kevin, that's this guy here?
Right,
Calvin?
Calvin.
Yeah, you see that
Calvin.
smile? One way to get him to smile when you call him Kevin. See,
Oh,
that?
well.
See that? One more thing up here. What is this with all the holes in it?
Some kind of a square
And you use the holes to
get the right angle.
right angles that you have, huh? And this is to strain the coffee that he makes. See, this is to strain his coffee. Well, we've been joking a little bit, but it's certainly been a pleasure, and I'm intrigued with so much of the stuff I see here, and I can tell pretty near what the ones that you made and ones that your father worked on, around here. Here's an old vise. Let me just show him this vise before we close here. This is a real old wood vise, what you guess you'd call it. Huh? You can hold your board in here, big wide place for your board sideways or up and down. It's down as far. You had an 8-inch here, and this was your big handle that closed. It was built right onto your bench. Nice old piece. And then never saw one of these before that I can remember. Tell us about this,
That's a
Jewel.
framing hammer.
Which means
When you're pounding in big nails, 16s and 20s, you use this because it's much easier.
you see it. You got an extra 6
The
inches
extra
long.
and the extra weight.
Yeah, and you really
You have to have the extra arm to go with it.
that's a 28-ounce hammer,
Ounce.
which is usually you're using a 16 or a 15, 17,
16
right?
pound.
Yep. Usually high, and usually that's what we're using. Anyway, we're going to close off here, and thanks again. I just wanted to happen to see that vise, and I came over here, and we're going to thank you very much for tuning in to Hometown Cable again and watching what's going on here with the sun in our backs here into our faces, and we hope that you will tune in every Sunday night and watch Hometown Cable. And every night for Hometown Cable, what's going on here every Sunday night? It's on at 5 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 1 a.m. and 9 the following morning, on early Monday morning. And we're on. If you think of something you'd like to see, let us know about it. We certainly will consider it. In the meantime, whenever you see Jules on the street, smile and say hello.